Best places to visit in England travel video. England is one of those places that feels strangely familiar even before arriving. Maybe it is because so many movies, football matches, royal events, and historic stories come from there, but the moment people actually step onto the streets, they realize England is far more layered than what the internet usually shows. One minute there are medieval castles standing beside rivers older than entire countries, and the next minute there are modern cities glowing with energy, music, and non-stop movement. England somehow blends history, chaos, countryside beauty, and modern culture into one experience that constantly changes without warning. And honestly, that unpredictability is exactly what makes traveling through it unforgettable. London. London does not slowly introduce itself to visitors. It throws everything at them immediately. Massive landmarks, crowded streets, black taxis moving in every direction, red buses passing centuries-old buildings, and people from almost every corner of the world somehow blending into one giant city. The strange thing about London is that it constantly feels historic and futuristic at the same time. You can walk past Buckingham Palace in the morning, stand beside Big Ben an hour later, and end the night inside a modern rooftop restaurant overlooking glowing skyscrapers. The city never really feels still. Even late at night, there is this energy moving through the streets that makes it feel alive all the time. And then there are the neighborhoods, each with completely different personalities. Bath. Bath feels like a city designed for another century that somehow survived into the modern world without losing its elegance. The streets are lined with golden-colored buildings, curved Georgian architecture, and quiet corners that make the entire place feel cinematic. Walking through Bath almost feels too beautiful to be real because everything looks perfectly preserved. Especially around the famous Roman baths where steam still rises from ancient waters that people used thousands of years ago. What makes the city special is the atmosphere. It feels calm in a way that instantly slows people down. Cafes spill onto narrow streets, musicians play softly in public squares, and the entire city carries this relaxed confidence that never needs to shout for attention. Lake District. The Lake District looks less like a real region and more like the setting of a fantasy novel. Endless green hills roll across the landscape, quiet lakes reflect the sky perfectly, and tiny villages sit peacefully between mountains like they belong inside a painting. This is the kind of place where people arrive expecting scenery and leave feeling emotionally attached to the atmosphere itself. Even the air feels different there, cleaner and calmer somehow, and the weather constantly changes the mood of the landscape. Sunny mornings make everything feel bright and peaceful, while fog drifting across the hills suddenly turns the entire region mysterious and dramatic. York. York feels like stepping directly into medieval England. The city walls still surround parts of it, narrow cobbled streets twist through ancient buildings, and every corner seems connected to another historical story. Walking through the shambles especially feels surreal because the street looks almost untouched by time. With old timber-framed buildings leaning over the pathway so closely they nearly touch above your head. It is the kind of place where people constantly stop walking just to stare around them. But York is not trapped in history. That is what makes it interesting. Beneath all the medieval beauty, there is still energy and life everywhere. Manchester. Manchester feels completely different from the polished image many people imagine when they think about England, and that difference is exactly why people love it. This city has attitude. It is loud, creative, energetic, and deeply connected to music, football, and working-class culture. The moment people arrive, they notice the atmosphere feels more raw and authentic than many tourist-heavy destinations. Murals cover walls. Music spills from bars and cafes, and the streets carry this constant movement that makes the city feel alive day and night. Cornwall. Cornwall does not feel like the England most people imagine. Instead of crowded cities and royal landmarks, there are dramatic coastlines, hidden beaches, fishing villages, and cliffs crashing into deep blue water. Some parts almost feel Mediterranean during summer when sunlight hits the ocean and small seaside towns glow under clear skies. But Cornwall still keeps that rugged English character through old stone houses, narrow roads, and coastal winds that can suddenly change the weather in minutes. The coastline there feels endless, and every beach somehow looks completely different from the last one. Oxford. Oxford feels intellectual without even trying. The city is filled with ancient colleges, quiet courtyards, giant libraries, and streets where some of the world's most influential thinkers once studied and debated ideas that shaped history. Walking through Oxford almost feels intimidating at first because the architecture looks so grand and historic that it resembles a movie set more than a real university town. And honestly, many famous films were actually filmed there because the atmosphere already looks cinematic naturally. But beneath all the academic reputation, Oxford feels surprisingly lively. Students cycle through narrow streets, cafes stay crowded with conversation, and bookstores seem to appear around every corner. Liverpool. Liverpool has personality immediately. It is impossible to miss. The city feels proud, emotional, musical, and deeply connected to its cultural identity in a way that makes it stand out from everywhere else in England. Most people know it because of the Beatles, and their presence still shapes parts of the city today, but Liverpool is much more than music history. The waterfront itself feels dramatic and beautiful, especially at sunset when the buildings reflect across the river and the city lights slowly begin glowing. There is also this humor and friendliness in Liverpool that visitors notice almost instantly. Cotswolds. The Cotswolds almost feels unreal because the villages are so perfectly beautiful that they look designed for postcards instead of real life. Stone cottages covered in flowers, tiny bridges crossing quiet streams, rolling green hills stretching into the distance. Everything feels peaceful there in a way that modern cities rarely do anymore. Some villages are so small and quiet that hearing birds and church bells becomes part of the experience. Walking through the Cotswolds feels less like sightseeing and more like escaping into another version of England where life simply moves slower. Small bakeries, traditional tea rooms, old pubs beside country roads. Stonehenge. Stonehenge remains one of the most mysterious places in the world because nobody fully understands how or why it was built. Standing beside those enormous stones creates this strange feeling because they look simple at first. But the closer people get, the more unbelievable the entire structure becomes. These massive stones were moved and arranged thousands of years ago, long before modern machines existed. And somehow they still stand today, surrounded by open countryside and endless questions. What makes Stonehenge powerful is not just the structure itself, but the atmosphere around it. There is always another town, another castle, another hidden corner waiting to completely change the experience again. If this video made you want to explore England someday, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment which destination surprised you the most.